4, 3, 2, 1. I told you before to be careful where you put your legs.
I was only trying to be helpful.
I could help myself. What are you waiting for? Come on. Come on. What are you waiting for? Come on. Come on.
For 7 decades, Michael Caine has been among the world's most renowned and recognisable actors.
It was just what I needed. A 1-inch god with a 2-inch penis.
The star of classics like Zulu, The Man Who Would Be King, and The Cider House Rules.
It's a miracle no one was killed.
But also films that brought his career to the brink of complete implosion.
I made a mistake.
Somehow, he has always found a way back.
You're a big man, but you're in bad shape. With me, it's a full-time job.
In this epic podcast series, we will watch and review every Michael Caine movie, from the greatest hits
You're only supposed to blow the bloody doors off.
to the incredible misses,
You failed to maintain your weapon, son.
and take a deep dive into the life and work of one of the world's most recognisable film stars.
His name is Michael Caine, and no one will forget his name.
To understand how he has made the mark of Caine.
Well, you all settled in? Right, we can begin. For God's sake, come in.
Hello and welcome to The Mark of Caine, our continuing splurge into the films of Michael Caine, watching every last movie from the Stonewall classics to the absolute turkeys in our quest to fathom the eternal allure of a man known as much for the horror shows that pepper his CVs as the Oscars and the classics and all the rest. My name is Michael Foley, and joining me as always is Stephen Black. We're about a third of the way through this thing now, so we're in 1970. We're getting through the 70s.
How are you spelling third?
With the H and the I. With the H and the I. I'm like, we can give out about the 70s, but we did get The Man Who Would Be King out of it in Carter, like, so, I mean, Sleuth, it's not been the worst.
It's a decade. It's 10 years. It's not like we're talking about fucking 6 or 8 months here. We're talking about 10 years of a career. That's more than, some people only get 10 years of a career. Ask any woman in Hollywood. That's pretty much all you get before, the leaves start turning.
Yeah, I hear you. And you know what? He made 22 movies in the 70s. This is movie 18 today. Today is movie 18.
Yeah, he's like the Kevin Sharkey of acting.
Just keeps banging them out, even if no one's asking for them.
Yep.
Pretty much. Today's movie is the first one post-tax scare for Caine, when he was obliged to make preparation to emigrate to Beverly Hills and avoid the punitive income tax rates that were.
You can almost smell the whiff of the ink just drying on the check for this one, can't you?
Really can.
I'd say we went from his sweaty palm into his savings account fairly fucking swiftly.
Very, very quickly.
We're rating him on a kind of a scale of classic to turkey.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'd say this is pretty much in the same category as to see this the latest craze to sweet Britain at the moment is this Christmas dinner in a can that Heinz brought out. It's just these beautiful separate gelatinous layers of food. This is pretty much in that category.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is.
It's not very appetizing. If you were stuck, you'd eat it.
Basically, yeah. We're talking about silver bears today. So, to be fair,
Silver bears.
I had great hopes for the next line. We didn't get there, did we? It's not.
I don't know what the next line is in the actual song, so that's why I stopped. It's Wayne Newton or something, is it?
Oh God, fair play to you. I didn't even pay that much attention to the music. Although the closing credits music kind of got me alright. But anyway, look, that's by the way. It's not the first time that he's done a movie to suit his lifestyle now already. The Marseille contract probably broke the seal on that one when he went to Paris because it got him out of the winter and it got the wife and kids away. But as you say, this is the one he does. He just does it for the money. This is pure. What's the first movie I can do, Mr. Agent? Well, this one, Silver Bears, seems to be quite interesting. It's got a Czech director, Louis Chotin's in it. That'll do. Where do I sign? That's it, basically, isn't it?
Is Laurence Olivier his agent now in this scenario?
Oh yes, darling. Yes, I've got so close to Michael now that he calls me Michael and he calls me Larry, and this is wonderful. So it's wonderful. To be fair to Silver Bears, right? On the surface, you would say why? Watch it, why? But let me just say this much in Silver Bears' favor. All right, this film gives us Caine on a donkey. It gives us drunk Caine. It gives us Caine drained by dysentery in Morocco. It gives us
Caine.
drained Caine. It gives us love scene Caine, more of which and on. Tiny bit of sports Caine, bit of swearing Caine, and we get a young Jay Leno. So,
Nobody even wants a fucking old Jay Leno. Like, I'm barely okay with the respiring Jay Leno, to be fucking quite honest. Yeah, did you hear about this? This is great. Fucking looking like a young Miriam Margolyes in this fucking movie.
He really does. It's very, very odd. Now,
can we refer to Caine and Donkey as Caine's sweet ass?
We sure can. Caine's sweet ass. That sounds beautiful. Like, if all those things they're not worth watching the movie for, don't get me wrong, but I think it's definitely worth hanging in this podcast for these things, right? It's like that's 5 or 6 kind of classic Caine things that we like to talk about there.
Also, Misery Loves Company, yes.
And Misery absolutely loves company. All right, so okay, let's go. Let's get into this, right? So, Silver Bears, Caine is playing a financial wizard. There's definitely a joke in there at a time when he's suffering a little tax problem in real life, but I'm not reaching for it. He's trying to hide money for the mob. He goes to buy a bank in Switzerland. He ends up in a whole lot of bother with Jay Leno and Sybil Shepherd and a load of other familiar actors. This is the long, long, long forgotten Silver Bears.
These people are not smarter than you are. They're richer than you are.
What have we got here?
We have a proposition that involves more money than you could possibly ever have dreamed of.
Oh, I'm quite a dreamer.
How about 10 million?
We are not interested.
$20 million. Come on, fellas, I just doubled my original offer. I'm not fooling around now. And this is going to be absolutely my final offer. $50 million.
50 million.
60 million bucks, Doc! 60 million!
What are you a doctor of?
Money.
How does $1 billion sound, Doctor?
$1 billion. Call me Doc.
How would you like to be dirty, filthy, stinkin', rich? Michael Caine and Sybil Shepherd show you how they got $60 million and have fun doing it. Silver Bears, a scheme so simple you can do it yourself.
First question for you, right?
I hope it's not a banking question because I really didn't pay that much attention.
Oh God! And you know what? I don't know about you. I get very confused when I'm watching, banking movies. Even like this, I was very confused.
You mean
watching.
aroused?
No,
banking.
No.
Whoa, so sexy. The best movies are about banking.
Yeah,
and do you know what's even more sexy? Do you know what's like Sexy Squared is as a banking movie that's set primarily in Switzerland, the sexiest country of all.
Yeah, hot. The book that this is based on was a thriller, but this is a comedy. Now, did it make you laugh? Yes. Did it make you laugh?
No, not really.
No. Can't say it did much for me. No. It's a very it's not a bad film. It's not a good film, but it's your chicken dinner in a can, really, isn't it?
I suppose it's probably those occasions where you have to be knocked out for the likes of, I don't know, a colonoscopy or something like that. You wake up, something bad's happened, but not something terrible, and that you can get on with your life without being anyway scarred by it.
Yeah,
but it's very much movie ballast. It's there to stop the ship of movies from sinking. But if you're replaced with another ballast, you wouldn't notice that it's missing.
Absolutely not. And I don't think Caine. I mean, Caine barely refers to this at all, does he? In any of his books?
Yeah, I mean, I think the world of cinema barely refers. This is there in the great canon of movies. Like, people would bemoan they don't make movies like this anymore. Well, good fucking cause.
Good reason.
It's a movie. It's a movie essentially. It's like, did that happen? I'd imagine, and again, obviously, I don't know this from personal experience. It must be like a woman who's been made love to by a man with a very small penis. I guess it's happened, but they didn't really feel anything.
Yes, I saw this film, I'd say about 7 or 8 months ago on one of those, vintage movie channels that popped up. And I watched 5 or 6 minutes of it. I couldn't get over.
Can you paint a magnificent word picture, because again, you are a writer ultimately here, of what you're normally doing what brings you to be watching these channels? What is it? Is it at the end of a long day, having exhausted, your word engine? Are you there just laying at odds with the world, just looking for some sort of visual sucker?
Exactly. I'm flicking through the Hallmark channels to see, do I recognize anybody in those films? And occasionally I will land onto one of these vintage movie channels and I am convinced of this, that at any time, anywhere in the world, there is a Mick Caine movie on somewhere. And on this particular occasion, it was Caine in Silver Bears, 1978. And I think when that came on...
Can we just say in this scenario, at no point does it occur to you, maybe I should go look at a new movie It's like, no, can't be doing any of that. I want something old and shit just there to tickle my brain while I slowly fall asleep.
It's why I'm here.
The only part of the day where I actually know some semblance of peace.
Well, this is it. Like I'm actually not able because we live in a house with 4 kids. So like, I mean, the idea of actually
not both of us. It's not like we're here. We're co-parenting.
Yeah, no, not you. Good God. But I'm not. My brain isn't able to kind of focus on a proper film. So all I want is rubbish. I just want it. It's like junk eating. It's like comfort eating. It's just like comfort flicking. And there's Caine. And bizarrely, he looks younger in 1978 than he did in 1972. And you're looking at it going, how is this? And then you realize that some of the film was filmed in Morocco and he lost nearly a stone due to getting a dose of the shits.
Yeah, the D plan.
Yeah, the D plan. He was on the D plan. Will I do the plot? Get into this?
Why not? It should be fairly quick.
Oh, Christ. You'd like to think so. Right. So Caine's character is called Doc Fletcher. Now, he, as I said at the top there, was sent to Switzerland to buy a bank to launder mob cash. And when he's there, he meets Louis Jourdan, who plays a prince who agrees to be chairman of the board and front the whole thing. So the bank turns out to be above a pizzeria, which makes Caine very, very cross. And the prince suggests investing in a silver mine in Iran, run by a brother and sister played by David Warner, who I know as the guy who got beheaded in The Omen.
Yep,
and
100%.
Thank you. And Stéphane Audran, who I know her face. I had to go and look up her filmography, and I saw that she was in The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie. But she's one of these French actresses. You've just seen a lot of things. She's very good. Anyway, the mine in Iran is said to contain $1 billion in silver. $1 billion. Imagine $1 billion in 1978. It's big now, like. Anyway, yeah. Doc gets $5 million as a security on a $20 million loan from the brother and the sister, buys a nicer bank and puts on a big show to draw investors in. Meanwhile, in London, Charles Cook, who's like a silver dealer, richest man in the world type job, notices the price of silver coming from Iran. The silver coming from Iran is killing the price of silver because it's just too much on the market. So he decides to buy the bank and shut down the mine. Stay with me. So he gets a US bank to buy the thing, sends a guy called Donald Luckman, who's played by Tom Smothers, a US comedian. I'm sure anyone in America is well aware of the Smothers brothers. Yeah, great people. So Smothers, Donald Luckman heads over there with his ditzy kind of wife, Deborah, who's played by Sybil Shepherd, to broker the deal. So anyway, as we go, Caine, of course, seduces the wife and figures out what's going on. But when Luckman offers $60 million to the bank, Albert, who's played by Jay Leno, he's the son of the mob boss who's bankrolling the whole thing. He blurts out, yes, we'll take it. And his dad agrees. So Caine gets very cross because he wants the bank for himself. So he goes to Iran, meets the brother and sister again about borrowing the $60 million to buy the bank. They reveal there's no mine. They're actually smugglers bringing in stolen silver from India and melting it all down. So the ending then is very fussy and complicated, but basically Caine works it that the mob get their $60 million from the bank from the US crowd. Charles Cook stiffs the bank because he knows there's no mine, but the bank get their money back through insurance when fraud is found to have occurred via the audit report, kind of saying that this bank is kosher or whatever. And Caine gives him another $10 million to cover the loss, so he gets the bank. Luckman, Tom Smothers' character, goes to jail for authoring this fake audit report. The prince marries the sister from Iran and goes into smuggling, and Caine shacks up with Sybil Shepherd while she waits for her husband to finish his jail sentence. And that's essentially the premise for what apparently is meant to be a laugh-a-thon, but it is neither a laugh-a-thon, it is more of a marathon.
Yeah. I mean, you explained the plot, you pretty much talked about the movie. It's very hard to say what bits of the movie I liked because I neither liked nor disliked it.
Yeah.
It's pretty much the mashed potatoes of movies. It kind of gets it's grand, it goes along, and just kind of a few smirky smiley bits, and it kind of gets lost in itself. Some beautiful casual homophobia at the start. Second Caine movie to include some very vigorous male breast manipulation, distractingly so. I mean, the Czech director who I understand made a career for himself in kind of art house movies before this. I'm not sure whether this is part of his milieu or not, but it did take up a disturbing amount of the frame while Caine was a having a conversation with his mob boss. It was very vigorous.
It was very vigorous.
It wasn't as if his chest was acting being massaged. It was pretty fucking vigorous.
It was getting massaged, and if my memory serves me right, you mentioned it is the second time we've had some very vigorous male breast manipulation in a Michael Caine movie. Was the first time Deadfall?
It was indeed, yeah.
Was that Deadfall?
I mean, this was neat. This was needed so much. I expected him to put your man into a proofing bowl before popping him into a fucking oven. Like,
if my memory serves me right, I think you described the male breast manipulation in Deadfall as being the equivalent of the guy trying to milk Caine's prostate from the outside, or something like that.
Yeah. This is
very vivid.
Yeah, this is essentially more like bread making than it was massaging.
Maybe, do you know what? Before we get on to the movie, maybe we'll just look at Caine. Just look at him. Just stare at him. You just look at his performance a little bit, right? To me, this movie is the epitome of cruising Caine now. He's got it.
100%.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like he's got the pointing. He knows when to get angry on screen, shouts a bit. I like his comic timing has come on a lot. He's getting the most out of a fairly lame script. He nails cruising Caine in this, and this is a move. This is a kind of a style that will serve him very, very well for the next 40 years, isn't it? Like this is he's cracked it now.
It's like he has his kit bag and he just opens it and it's like, yeah, do this here, do that there, collect the check. That's pretty much it. There is nothing here that that in any way shows him stretching himself. No, in any way. It's just, yeah, this is it. Show me the money. Bada bing, bada boom. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. Like he it was more interesting, like, and from that side of things, looking at the movies earlier in his career to see where did all these little gestures come from, and we talked them all through in the other episodes. But it's all in the last couple of shows now. We've seen it. It's all here now. It's as you say, the tool bag is now full. I thought the best scenes, insofar as there were any ones that you could say were the best, I thought the best ones were with Sybil Shepherd. Myself, anyway. Yeah, I mean, young Sybil Shepherd was a very, very attractive, very, very attractive woman. Not quite convinced that young Sybil Shepherd was a very, very talented actress, though. I think the tone of her character seemed very at odds to the tone of the movie. Explain. It seems that her. I'm not even sure whether it was acting or what it was, but just seemed very at odds to what else was going on in the movie. Well, it's a low energy movie. Like it's a comedy, but there's not an awful lot of japery going on. It's kind of low energy, and she comes on screen and she's kind of, as I said, ditzy and kind of. I actually came across a blog review of it from recent years that described her acting. I think it's a bit harsh now, but it describes her acting as though she's getting electroshock treatment through her underpants, which I thought was a bit yuck. That's a bit much. No, it does. She does act as if somebody's literally just shouted in her ear, act. Yeah. And like she's constantly startled, like she was reading a book and then somebody just came up behind her and just kind of went, act. And she go, oh, Jesus, blood's out her lines. It's a constant state of kind of semi-shock. Yeah. But I mean, the scenes with Caine, as always, are fantastic because, again, there are elements of lovemaking to it. And as always, it is wonderful, once again, to see the Caine seduction technique in full effect. Unbelievable. No, and I think that probably part of the problem for Sybil, in terms of if she looks like she might be overacting a bit, is the total and utter lack of chemistry with Caine. I'd say she's kind of going over the top to try and create some kind of chemistry, some kind of believable link between them. But the love making, the kissing scenes are just, they're out of the Hurry Sundown catalogue, I think. Which is very bad. First of all, I'll point out, good old Hollywood, there's a 17-year age difference between Mick Caine and Sybil Shepherd. Wow, was it that much? Wow. Yeah, so, your standard Hollywood ick level there. Yep. And secondly, again, he deploys the fantastic docking procedure that would I put the International Space Station to shame in terms of its efficacy. He sure does. There's no air getting in there. That is a permanent seal. I mean, it's, fucking, if they could produce PPE as effective as his lips, I swear it would just take COVID levels down all around the world. I think it really would. Many years later, Sybil Shepherd reflected on Michael Caine as a leading man, and she recalled, like, number one, no chemistry whatsoever. They did two kind of they filmed two love scenes. One was filmed either in Switzerland or in Morocco or wherever when he was there on his own, and then there was another one filmed back in London. Now, she said that he was just terrible. This is a quote from Sybil Shepherd. He was terrible at the love scene, kissing me with his mouth closed. The director said to me, "Can you get him to loosen up, heat it up?" Then
weeks later, they shared another on-screen kiss, and it was much better, according to Sybil Shepherd, because Caine's wife, Sheikh IRA, Shakira, was watching off camera. She says his wife, Shakira, was on the set, and he did a great love scene then. I think it was better because you worry sometimes about what's going to happen if you open your mouth in the kiss and your wife's not in town. I don't even want to go any further than the end of that sentence.
That is a suitcase marked trouble that I do not want to unpack. No. The fact that Mick Caine, basically, for what she's saying, was more capable of kissing her when being observed by his wife leads me to imagine some sort of eyes wide shut scenarios going on in Caine Towers throughout the 70s and 80s. I think it's funny when you think about it. Like when you go on, I think we mentioned it before, our respective admiration for young Robert Redford and for me, Paul Newman.
Yes.
It's almost impossible to think of Mick Caine as a sexual being.
Absolutely.
It's not. I mean, it's like, and obviously he's a screen icon by virtue of still being alive and continuing to act. But in terms of sheer screen chemistry with, like leading ladies or leading men or what have you, it's just he does not set the screen light in that way. There's no smoldering happening on here. It's not even there's no fire at all, no sparks. This is a coarse fire that is not going to, not going to sweep through and take out a couple of fucking parks. There's nothing going on.
Off the top of my head, the only screen chemistry that I can just think of now is mostly with male actors. So, Connery, there was chemistry. Olivier, there was a bit of chemistry.
He more effectively and more passionately kisses Louis Jourdain's hand in this movie than he does Sybil Shepherd's.
He does. He really does. The screen kisses are very, very short. The parts, the reason I'm thinking of Hurry Sundown, and for anyone who hasn't listened to the Hurry Sundown episode, well, basically it's the worst screen kiss of all time ever. Committed to Celluloid is Michael Caine and Jane Fonda in Hurry Sundown. But there's a part in this film where he and Sybil Shepherd are wrestling on the bed, and it's meant to be, fun kind of horseplay, sexual horseplay, but he ends up pinning her down, and then does the Hurry Sundown move, which is basically implanting his face. Like it's almost like he's implanting his face in wet concrete on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. He's just smashing it in there, so that a good indentation, good mark is made, and the poor woman is left underneath, sort of, probably requiring, dental surgery, I'd say, afterwards. It's intense, like.
And then there's the insinuation that that his character is quite good at the lovemaking.
That's right.
Which, when you give in all visual evidence to the contrary, is a bit jarring.
In their first sort of, coming together, as it were, she turns around and she's, I've been unfaithful 3 times, and since I've been in Europe, and Caine's like, what? You mean I'm not the only one? But of course, it turns out that she's been unfaithful with Caine 3 times already, and now she's asking for a 4th go on the merry-go-round. He's not having it, though. As I recall, he's a bit weary at this point.
I don't know whether he'd have a full Irish in me first before I do it. The more kind of monster energy. At this
stage, now in the film, like, it's late at night. He's flat out in front of a fire. He's wrecked. Like, he's not doing any more. He's away to bed now. And we'll see what the morning brings. But that's it.
On the 7th day, the Lord rested.
Drunk Caine. We get drunk Caine, which essentially to me seems to... We do. And essentially seems to me, normally, of course, he has the side parting. So I think the big change here is that he combs his hair forward as drunk Caine. I think that's essentially what happens there.
He's a man transformed.
I didn't recognize him. My goodness. He has just inhabited the role of a drunk. Sports Caine. I thought he was going. There's a scene where he almost played ping pong.
Play ping pong again. I was like, Jesus God, no.
He plays
good
ping
fake
pong.
Out.
He plays ping pong in Z and Co. But I have to say, Sybil Shepherd throws the ball up for him to catch. No, we don't see it come. It goes out of shot when it goes up in the sky and comes back down again. But he catches this like a pro.
I think that was Lynn Dayton. Deep cut for Michael Caine fans. Deep cut.
He goes nowhere without Dayton since he had Chris File. What else could we say? Swearing Caine.
Lynn Dayton's in the bedroom as well, doing all the hand action while Shakira watches.
Oh man, what a weird thing for Sybil Shepherd to say. Caine swears more in the first 20 minutes, I think, than he does in these last 20 movies. Says shits and bastards flying around the place for the first 15 minutes. I'm not sure whether they filmed that bit first or maybe they filmed that bit later on in the shoot. And at that stage, he was like, fuck this.
Gotta love the 70s, baby. Swearing a movie's lends authenticity.
Apparently so. So, I mean, it's kind of, as we said, cruising Caine. Jay Leno. Jay fecking Leno. Would you like to hear how he got the gig?
Would I? Sorry, I took myself. Would I?
Would I? Yes, you would. So this is Jay Leno's recollection. He did a first-person piece for the Sunday Times a bunch of years ago, and he spoke about it. He said he was standing on the street corner in LA in 1978 after doing a set at the Comedy Store, and Ivan Passer, the director, passed and said, "Are you an actor?" And he said, "Yeah, sure." So he said, "How would you like to go with me to England to be in a movie with Michael Caine? You'd be perfect." According to Leno, that was literally what happened. He said, Passer said, "Call this number on Monday, see the producers, give him a card." When Leno called him, they said, "Who are you?" He said, Ivan Passer stopped me in the street. So they said, "Okay, come on in." So I went in and they said, "We're going to Morocco, England, Las Vegas, Switzerland, and Italy, and some other place." So I said, "Yeah, I'll go." And boom, I was in the movies. I had no agent, no manager. And when I got home, I started doing stand-up comedy again. He's a very odd person in this movie.
Again, have you seen the recent Army of the Dead movie? On Netflix. It's a sex movie.
Busy watching bad films late night. I don't have time for new movies.
Well, this is a particularly good movie either. But they originally cast a guy called Chris D'Elia, who it turns out was, shall we say, in the industry parlance, problematic.
Right.
So his character was replaced by Tig Notaro, who shot all her scenes at home in front of a green screen and was then digitally inserted into the picture. It feels like they did this. Obviously, they didn't, but it feels like the same technique was used for Jay Leno in this. It just, whenever he's on screen, it's like this. One of these things is not like the others. Like he does not belong here. He does not have a face as an actor. It is very. It's not like the uncanny valley. It's just, I find the shape of him geometrically unpleasing. It's like my brain, some part of my lizard brain is going, "No, danger, run. This can do you harm." Many of our people have died by turning our back on this thing. So that was my main issue with him. And then he speaks, and honest to God, it's like somebody slowly standing on an inflatable rubber duck, the air whistling out of it at a highly pitched rate. Just everything about him is just unpleasant.
It's like, what are you doing here? I have to kind of agree with you. The guy, I don't care what he looks like, but definitely, if you don't know, as a new actor on screen and you're looking at this guy and all you're looking at is the chin. I hate to say it, but that's all you're looking at. He barely has any lines. He kind of spends a lot of the movie standing around, occasionally smoking a cigar, has a few lines, nothing too intense. As you say, it could have been done. He could have done it at home.
Might have been better had he stayed. No, actually, it wouldn't. It really wouldn't matter if it was fucking Laurence Olivier or any other actor in that role. You can't polish a turd.
No. He's meant to be playing a kind of a. I didn't even know what this exactly would be. A wayward son of a mob boss. Now, the wayward son of a mob boss would suggest to me some guy who's got an actual legit job. But anyway, he's hijacking cars, and he's brought to Switzerland for Caine to sort of groom him as a banker, basically. And there's no sign of that. Yet in the middle of it all, when he kind of blurts out, "Yeah, let's take the $60 million," Caine turns to him and goes, "Look at the monster I've created. Look at what I've just created." And I'm going, on screen, they barely speak to each other in the film. Barely speak to each other up to that point. I think it's one of the big flaws, one of the huge flaws in the movie, is that they create all these relationships later on in the film with no there's no sign of these relationships.
No, it happens. It's his relationship with Albert. It's his relationship with the prince, which all of a sudden they go from Caine wanting to kill him because he's basically conned them into buying the bank, to them going to Louis Jardin declaring that he's the best friend he's ever had. to Sybil Shepherd and Michael Caine's romance, going from a drunken fling to Caine saying you're the best thing that's happened, or you're the nicest thing that's ever happened to me in my entire life.
Yeah,
which fucking
no.
That's really breaking that's really kind of breaking the whole suspension of disbelief, to be honest with you. Just nuts stuff. And then actually going Gianfranco. His
Louis Jourdain's character,
his relationship with the sister, the con artist, because they use slaps as foreplay.
Yep.
Which love the 70s, and then they end up getting married at the end of the movie.
Yep. It's unbelievable. Actually, and before I forget, actually, speaking of strange sort of accelerated relationships. One thing we completely forgot to say about Caine's character and Sybil Shepherd was the dancing with the music there's like a kind of a party at a restaurant.
You could do a montage of all the terrible dance scenes in Caine's movies.
And I think that sounds like a thing that we should do. But they're playing the music and she's dancing like a maniac, basically. He's just standing there. And honest to God, if you look at his face, it looks like on screen, it looks like he is going to kill her. He is not going to make love to her. He is going to kill her. And then the next thing, she throws her arms around him and it's all different. But I mean, the look on his face is weird.
Yeah, it's not actually. No, obviously, I can understand why he wasn't dancing when maybe he's kind of bent over double at the side of the dance floor or something. I don't know.
Squatting.
He may have gone method for it. I don't know.
Back to Leno, actually. Just one last thing about Leno. I kind of had a look around to see, was there anything of Caine on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno? I mean, I'm sure he's been on loads of times. I could only find one thing, and you're going to enjoy these two anecdotes. They kind of reach back to an earlier time in this podcast series. So he was on promoting The Prestige one night with Leno, and he told two stories that are worth recalling. Now, one was about why he only wears slip-on shoes, Stephen. He would go to the cheapest shoe shop to buy slip-on shoes. The reason is because he's experienced in repertory theatre, Stephen. Actors who wore shoes with laces, they would go out and the laces would become undone, and that's all they'd be focused on, is trying not to fall over their laces for the rest of the show. And he saw that a couple of times.
He's actually insane. Those are the comments and behaviours of a crazy person. That is not rational thinking. It's not like, oh God, I've had to tie my shoelaces tonight and it's taking me completely out of the row. So first thing, bish bosh, back into Albert's shoe shop on the Hall Road. Go, pair of slip-on slippers for you, no laces, job done. Never wore shoes with laces again. He probably said on the fucking Jay Leno show, wearing a pair of fucking laced shoes.
He was actually wearing very expensive slip-ons, actually. Funny. I think he was anyway, but I'd have to go back and check. But the second story will give you an indication possibly of where that madness comes from, right? So back to his dad, God rest him. Veteran listeners of this podcast will recall how his dad had a whole thing about Caine possibly being a homosexual because he wanted to be an actor. So kind of in that vein, he told a story about his father being a man who worked as a fish porter and who ate red meat every day. And he believed, according to Michael Caine, that anyone who ate chicken was gay. And he also told Michael never to trust anyone with a beard, a bow tie, sandals, or someone who wore two-tone shoes.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's great news for any gay listeners. Just head to your nearest Nando's and you're going to be up to your neck in Sweet D or P.
There you go. Crazy. That's the only bit I could find. I'm sure I was hoping to find some bit of him on The Tonight Show talking about silver bears with Leno. They've surely reminisced. They surely have. Did you notice Leno wore a Bogart t-shirt, by the way, at one stage in the film?
I didn't, to be honest. Again, as I said, my brain was screaming, run. Leno brings pain.
Leno brings pain. Right, so the movie... I've
got a fact for you. Do you know what? Fuck you, I've got a fact. Fuck you with your
go on, then.
Effect. Two Bond villains in this movie. Two Bond villains.
Yes, go on.
Louis Jourdain was Kamal Khan in Octopussy.
Fantastic.
And Charles Gray, of course, was Blofeld in Diamond Shot Forever.
Of course he was. I was looking at him and I'm going, yes, what... And he was good. Also, Martin Balsam is in it, who, I mean, my God, he plays the mob boss. And he's just always decent, you know. He's a bit like if you've got Cruising Caine, you have Cruising Balsam as well here. I mean, his CV. I went back and looked at his CV because he's one of these guys you see as a supporting actor in so many things. He's like Psycho, Breakfast at Tiffany's, 12 Angry Men, Cape Fear twice. The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, All the President's Men,
Yeah,
like
good CV.
Silver Bears.
Silver Bears, not so much. And of course, we have Joss, Diplomatic Immunity Ackland in this as well.
Indeed we do. A throwback to the Black Windmill.
Yep.
Yeah, he plays the kind of the dickhead banker that you want to get, who you really want to see get screwed by the end, but he doesn't get screwed really.
Did you watch the post-credit sting, which I thought maybe it inspired the whole Marvel universe?
No, go on.
It's once Caine and Shepard go off in the car, there's a very brief cut, and then it to the credits, and then it goes to Tommy Smothers' character in jail.
Oh yeah, well I did see this. Yeah, go on.
Yeah. It's kind of a post-credit thing, but it's he's there looking at a picture of his wife, and then goes to play with his yo-yo, which I assume was very,
Yeah. We'll just assume and just leave it at that. But is he typing his memoir? Because he was saying he was going to write a book about the whole thing. Was that because you can't see it?
Memoir and looking lovingly or whatever at Sybil Shepherd's photo, and then proceeded to stand up and then play with his yo-yo.
Yeah,
not a euphemism. He was playing with his yo-yo.
He was playing with a yo-yo. Tommy,
can you do one of your classic bits?
Yo-yo man. He's not bad in it. Like he's
not getting an awful lot to do either.
No,
to be honest,
he's not.
He's playing a drip.
Yeah, and he plays it. He plays it just fine. We've actually, I'm just looking through my own notes here from movie bits. We've kind of touched on all of the movie bits because, I mean, the mad kind of acceleration in all these relationships, and we don't understand what the hell just after happened, but they're all like, getting married and best friends all of a sudden. Reviews, it just disappeared. It was a box office flop everywhere it went. I think Variety, I know you're not a fan of Variety, but I think they probably nailed it.
Only in life.
Very good. They say that Eva and Passer assemble a rather talented squad of performers, then marches them through a minefield, losing all hands in an attack on an uncertain objective. I think it's a very good cast of people individually, but yet again in the Caine project, it just does not come together. I think that's pretty much. I mean, Christ, we've talked more about Silver Bears than anybody I'd say in the last 40 odd years. Like, I mean, he did do an interesting interview when he was filming it with the Evening Standard, Caine, where he was asked straight out, "Are you leaving?" around the tax issue, and he said, "No, I'm not," which was clearly a fib, but there we go. He definitely was. I think he was still in England. I know in the previous episode we had talked about him moving to LA and stuff. The kind of timeline around this is all a bit vague. I think when Silver Bears came out, he was still in England, but certainly
I've seen 2 released years for Silver Bears. One site was saying 1977, the other 1978. Yeah. So in and around this year, basically this movie is coming out in and around when Star Wars was coming. You're kind of going, lads, different era. What the fuck are you doing?
Where is it sitting? Yeah, I mean, some of the dates on these maybe UK or an American release, but it sits nowhere. I mean, the idea of silver. There was a massive drop, I think, in the price of silver in the early 70s, which is where this idea came from. But it doesn't really sit anywhere. Marks for Caine.
I guess you could say silver as a plot idea does not lead to box office gold.
Hey! Now there we go. Now see, that is why we keep you in curly whirlies to keep you on this podcast. Those kind of lines.
I fucking hate curly whirlies, so that's a terrible way of keeping me on board.
You should have just said, and we can change it.
At my age now, my teeth are quite brittle, so it's a dice with death. It's kind of Russian roulette if I eat a fucking curly whirly.
Fair enough. We'll go to
one curly whirly and end up looking like Shane McGowan.
We'll move to softened Freddos from now on. So for you,
it's better. I just nuke them for about 5 minutes there. So yeah.
That'll do the trick. Right, marked for Caine, not for the movie, God help us. Cruising Caine. What does Cruising Caine get?
Cruising Caine usually gets a 5, doesn't it? It's like...
I would nearly give him a 6 just to kind of just bump it up slightly. Because, I mean, the timing, he did do a bit, like his comic timing and stuff, and the way he worked the script wasn't bad given what was actually on the page. And I quite liked some of the... I'm assuming they were improvised with Sybil Shepherd. They looked improvised to me anyway.
I don't know. I guess it's like... He's acting at this stage is basically the same as getting a plumber in to fix something. They come in, they fix it, and that's it. But in acting, you typically expect a bit more. He's not coming in to change a fucking washer and a tap. He's coming in to give a fucking performance and do his best and sell sell the role and sell the story. And it's just, you can see the indifferent glaze in his eyes in some scenes. So I'm sticking with my 5.
You're sticking with your 5. All right. Well, I'm not going to fall out with you over it. And I think as well, maybe the lack of energy on our side is possibly because of what's coming next. This feels like a movie that's just in the way of what's next. I mean, if you ask people, no, we don't. People have told us what episodes.
We're not asking anyone.
No, we're not asking anybody. Sorry, but people have told us the episodes that the movies they want reviewed, the episodes they want to hear. And I would say, without fear or favor, apart from blaming on Rio, weirdly, this is, and Jaws, this is the movie that everybody wants to hear about. Have you ever seen The Swarm?
We have been invaded by an enemy far more lethal than any human force.
I thought we were talking about Hannah and her sisters. Have I ever seen The Swarm? I have seen some of The Swarm. I've seen it up to, I think there's a line in it that, and again, I'll say it now because we'll be bringing it up next week, even though we're bringing it up next week, was, I think it's him, it's something like this, it's the bees. I was right all along. So that's just lodged in my mind somehow. And obviously I'm paraphrasing, I'm sure it won't be the same, but the gist of it is, it's the bees. I was right all along.
Oh my
God.
Yeah. I've never seen it. I flicked on before we got on to talk about Silver Bears. I flicked on 30 seconds, just a random, just clicked into the middle of it somewhere to see. It was a piece of dialogue between himself and Richard Widmark, and it was just dialogue, and they're walking, and I tell you, I was in stitches. I was in stitches. This thing, do you know how long The Swarm is, by the way?
It better not be longer than 90 minutes.
It's 2 hours and 35 minutes long.
Well, I suppose
2
it is
hours
a
and
disaster.
35 minutes?
I suppose it is a disaster movie. Oh, God, why? Why? How many
No,
I mean,
this is going to be great. This is widely considered, if for the few people who are listening to this who don't know, this is widely considered among the worst movies ever made, ever. Now, them's fighting words as far as I'm concerned. Like,
it does. It does have. Do you know what it has? It is 2 hallmarks for just dog shit. It is Jose Ferrer and Richard Chamberlain.
Yeah. This is going to be something. I've been waiting a long time to watch this film, but now it's finally here.
Yes, I hope it lives up to its buzz.
Jesus Christ!
Yeah. You don't get that in other podcasts, do you? Just fucking sizzling wit straight off the platter by
beautiful,
like your Szechuan beef with the local Chinese takeaway. I want to eat it, but I can't. It's just too hot.
Ah, man, you could have. I mean, I'm just, that one liner just puts me in mind of Jay Leno on the Tonight Show again. Jay Leno.
You'd be so cruel.
Right, go and watch it. Find it. If you don't want to watch it, if you don't want to spend 2.5 hours watching The Swarm, well, I don't know. I've never seen it, so I can't say it's a good or a bad idea. But if you don't want to go watch it, just come back here next time. We will watch this, and I have a feeling we're going to have a lot to talk about.
And as usual, like and subscribe for fucking ignore this piece as you fucking normally do, you ungrateful motherfuckers. Or, ask us a question on Twitter, which none of you do either. So why are you here? Is it just you just like the abuse, do you? You just like to be hurt?
Yeah, I think they're a little bit like Sybil Shepherd, trapped underneath Caine. They don't know why they're there. They're just thinking, this is almost over. And it is now.
I'm just hoping he hasn't fallen asleep.
Yeah, I think you're probably right there. Right, let's wrap it up. We'll talk next time.
Good luck. Goodbye. That's it for this week's episode. Thanks for listening. Make sure to like and subscribe. Maybe leave a comment. Only nice ones, though. Mean comments will make Alfie cry, and no one wants to see that. The Michael Caine podcast is written, researched, and presented by Stephen Black and Michael Foley, and edited by Andrew Foley. Music is composed by Stephen Black. If you'd like to get in touch, you'll find us on Twitter at Michael Caine 2. And if you enjoyed this episode, you'll find all the rest wherever you get your podcasts. The Michael Caine is a Malin News 2 Cubes production. See you next time.